Good morning, everyone. How's it going today? Okay. I feel like a excitement in the air because I know today a lot of my friends' kids are reporting back to school, mostly online. But I know a lot of them have been really nervous about it. So I'm just sending out love to all of them today. I'm really excited for today's lesson. And the reason why is because this is totally new for me. Hey, Sarah. Thanks for saying hi. So today we are going to be, yes, Jay, for real. Well, we get to I feel really grateful that I can do this with all of you and spend my Monday morning this way. But we'll be sending good vibes out to our friends with kids this morning, and our teacher friends for sure. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about icon painting, and you are going to discover that this is probably exactly opposite from how I normally teach painting, the approach to icon painting. And that's why I'm kind of excited about it. My original intention was to just show you some images, talk about the history, and then we would just break off from there and make our own interpretations. But looking through directions and steps to follow, I thought it would be fun to try to follow some actual directions today. And if you need to break off along the way and do your own thing, awesome. So I just want to talk briefly about what an icon painting is. I've sent some images, but I'll just go ahead and include a couple links here in the chat box, and I'll put some down in the comments below for anyone who's watching this in the future. But basically, icon painting began in early Christianity, around 300, mid 300s CE. And the idea of them was to personify some of the people that were being described and told about in Christian stories. So something that came to mind when I was researching this is that there was no images back then. Like people, we can't even imagine such a world. Like I have all these paintings back here, and every day we get online and we see tons of images. I mean, we are so inundated with images of things. And it's just pretty amazing to think about, like, a time when people didn't have images. And so these icon paintings at the time it was in Constantinople, which is today Istanbul, but like these were some of the first images that people were seeing, like everyday people were seeing. And they were mostly in the churches. Around the mid 700s, there was a whole movement of people that wanted to destroy the icons, referred to as iconoclasts. And we use that term today when anyone goes against the grain. We call them an iconoclast. But there was a serious movement to destroy all these icons because people were really concerned that that those were being worshipped and those were taking precedence over God. And the idea that you would create images of humans was very sacrilegious in people's minds. So in the mid 700s, the bishops actually ruled to do away with icon painting, which is pretty amazing to think about. I mean, I think about like how new technologies can be really uh, people are scared of them. I remember when cell phones came out, I was freaked out. I didn't want one. It took me a while, and I did get one, and I use it a lot. I remember when like ebooks came out, and there were so many people that were really opposed to them. And now I think a lot of people really use them. So I think there can be like a real distrust of these new forms of technology, and I think of icon painting as a form of of technology. Hello, Mary. Thanks for joining us this morning. So, about 100 years after that, the bishops ruled, yes, icon paintings, we can have them, we can fill them, put them in the churches. And so they became more prevalent. So I sent a link there where you can see images of just like traditional or very early icon paintings. I shared a link yesterday to many of you of the Wikipedia entry on icons. And yeah, I think you all have an idea of what traditional icon painting looks like. Just to review some of the basic characteristics. Early icons were painted on board, but then later they were embossed or woven into textiles, put into like made out of tiles, mosaics. But the earliest were painted on board. They were planned out. Now, you all know I'm not a big planner, so this is going to be totally new and weird for me today. But yeah, icon paintings were more planned out. The pigments were always blended before application, which is another one. I tend to blend a lot on my canvas, but pigments were blended already before application. The icons were painted with tiny brushes. And again, I love a big brush. So they were painted very tightly with tiny brushes on board, planned out. There's very little perspective in the icon paintings and not a lot of shadows. And the idea of that was that they weren't meant to be realistic depictions of people. They were just meant to be like a symbol or like just a representation, nothing realistic. And then also there's something about how, I read something about how they wanted it to be perceived as the way God would perceive people, without shadows and such. So not a lot of shadows in icon painting. And then also there's generally an element of gold or a gilded element somewhere in the icon. And that is because gold was a precious metal, a precious material. Now, I have this book that I think is really interesting and cool, and I recommend it if any of you are interested in color and history and pigments. It's really easy to read. There's lots of cool pictures in it. It's broken up by color. And this was a book I think that Asheville Art Museum had people reading. And this whole section on gold is really interesting. And what is said about it is that gold, you couldn't make paint out of gold because the paint is too soft. Gold is too soft to actually bind to anything. So gold leaf was made instead and pounded out by hand and then applied that way. I'm not going to expect you to use any gold leaf today, but if you have gold paint, to work with today, excellent. If you have glitter, sparkly stuff, also you might find gold foil like within some of your papers. Like this has this cool gold foil in it. I sometimes will keep when I get like a candy bar or something that has a gold wrapper, I'll keep it. So if you have something like that, you could use. You could try using aluminum foil today for the gold or the metallic shiny element, if you wish. But the idea for the gold was one that it's a precious metal, but also it's supposed it's meant to bring life to the painting. And it's some people hype or theorize that the gold at night in a church when you have a candle, the flickering of the candle makes the paintings look a little more alive and animated. So that could also be why there's so much gold in the icon paintings. So we're going to work with that today. Often also in the icon paintings, there's a halo. Now, halos aren't new to Christian art. They were used in Asian art as well. They date way back. The earliest halo I think I found is 1235 BCE to depict the Egyptian god Ra, who had a solar, like a red disk over their image. So a halo is depicted in all different kinds of ways. In I think in Asian art, in Hindu art, it's depicted as flames around a body. But you can think about that as being the element that elevates your person that you paint today. And so that brings me to subject matter, things you might paint today, people you might paint today. Contemporary, I'm going to show you some contemporary versions of icon painting. Hopefully this will share. This is if you look up the painter Mark Dukes, he paints churches, interiors of churches. Hey, Lisa. And I'll show you one of the interiors of his church. The light's a little weird in this, but it's pretty amazing. But he does these contemporary versions of icon painting. But this is the first image I shared is John Coltrane. He does a lot of icon paintings of John Coltrane. And then this, hopefully this shares. It's not going to share. I sent an image of, now I'm not remembering the name of it, but he made this painting she's the protector against gun violence. And I'm sorry, I don't have more information about it right now, but if you look up Mark Dukes, you'll find more about, let's see if I can get this to share. And make the link a little bit smaller. Maybe it will share. We'll see. Hopefully that opens for you. Other depictions. Let's see. What else do I have pulled up here? I showed you. I had sent also a image of the bridge on Lexington Avenue here in Asheville. Hopefully that shares. Nope, I gotta make it smaller. But maybe you all have driven under the bridge. that crosses over Lexington Avenue. Let's see. There's a lot of what I refer to as everyday saints depicted in that mural. People, local people from Asheville. Maybe that will open for you. And this is often, like this kind of painting is often applied like for deceased people, George Floyd memorials. I saw a lot with a halo around his head. So you've probably are very familiar with this. Kind of contemporary forms of icon painting. Let's see if I have anything else. Oh, I like this one. I think this is a pretty, very simplified computer graphic, but worth showing for sure. So we're going to try our own. Oh, and of course, this one. Now, the artist, I know you're all going to love this next link that I share with you. And unfortunately, I will need to go back and find who the artist is because I have lost her name. But you're going to love her work. That last image I shared. So hers is a really great depiction of how you might incorporate some mixed media into this. But I want to try to follow the basic steps of making an icon painting because for me, I need some steps. I need some guidelines. So I'm going to do that. And at any point when you want to break off and try your own thing, please feel free to do that. Just going to share this beautiful section as well. Okay, got to close out some of these things I have open here. So are you all ready? You're going to need, for today, you're going to need an image of what you're going to work from. I'll show you a couple of techniques for transferring that image, but you might want, if you have tracing paper, that might be good to use today. I know it's something that I never tell people to get, but if you have it somewhere on hand, maybe grab a sheet of that. And I hope you've given a little thought maybe to who you will memorialize today in your painting. So the original paintings were made on board because board is smooth. Unfortunately, I thought I had a little canvas and I don't. So I'm actually going to be working on regular canvas, and to prepare, I sanded this down so it has a pretty smooth texture. And then I did put a little stain of burnt sienna on there just so it looks a little bit more like a wood panel. But you probably don't need to do that. I always like to start with some kind of base. I am about to share some instructions with you. And you can refer to these at any point after this video is over. If you ever need to go back and look at steps, I just want to thank the person that put this out. But I found this cool how-to step-by-step guide, and we are going to try to do this today. Okay, so number one, we need to, if you need to prepare your canvas or your board, if you want to give it a little stain, go ahead. If you just want to work with white, that is what's actually used in the steps that I sent out. So it's up to you how you want to do that. Number two is we are going to determine our person, and we're going to make what's called a cartoon. And that's basically like the outline of our design. Now, I decided, because I've already done a video about her or using her, the video where we painted our hands holding a book, I am going to use this artist, Maria Sabilla, who I talked about. She was a scientist and an illustrator, and she went around and studied caterpillars and butterflies. And so she, I just think she's really interesting and really cool. And I have a lot of good images to support her. So in my icon painting, what I did was I found the picture of her and I made a photocopy. And I'll show you two different techniques, because if you don't have tracing paper, I'll show you a different technique you might use. But what I did is I already went ahead, because I wanted to get on top of things, and I made a little tracing from the book of her face. What I might do next is also design my painting. I want to surround her with some caterpillars and some butterflies and some plants, because that's what she painted. So what I might do, actually, there's a really great butterfly here on the cover of the book. I am going to maybe place in where I want the butterfly. Should I do it right under her? I don't think it will fit. I'll do it there. I'm going to need a different butterfly. But I'm going to start to design my cartoon. So there's this caterpillar in here. I found this black and yellow caterpillar. So I am going to trace that. So it looks like it's crawling maybe up her shoulder. So yeah, you can find images you like. The other thing is, if you find images to support your hero that you're painting today, you can also cut them out and just use them as a collage element. You might also make transfers from them. Remember the videos that I shared about making image transfers? So you might try doing that. I personally don't want to ruin this book, so I'm not going to do that. But I could make a photocopy of it and a transfer. Or I could find some caterpillars from magazines that I could use for my particular thing. And I'm not going to get super into the details when I trace this, because I have the image in front of me to refer to. And you could be doing all this just freehand. That's pretty great too. So here's what I have now. I'm also going to give her a halo, but I'm thinking I want to surround it with flowers maybe. So let's see. There was a pretty good image in here. Some flowers. But I think what I'm going to do, in the steps that I gave you, they have you make a halo using a compass. I do not have one. So I'm going to use a lid. This one's not big enough. Here we go. Perfect. I have a lid like this I'm going to use. Made it a little off center. So here's what I have at this point. Okay. You're probably doing a different thing than I am, but just to move on. Next, what I want to do is transfer this to my canvas. If you happen to have carbon paper, which who does, but if you happen to, that's really good to use. Another thing you can do is take a piece of charcoal, and this is a tiny little piece of vine charcoal. It's a soft charcoal, and rub it on the back of your cartoon. And if you are working with something like this, with just a regular image that you printed out and you don't want to trace it, you can go ahead and rub the charcoal on the back of that. Okay. And then what you want to do, I'm going to angle this down a little bit. What you want to do next is you're going to trace this onto your canvas, or your board, whatever it is you're working on. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to scoot it over so you can see. And what I want to do also is tape it down so it doesn't move too much. So I'll just use a little piece of tape here. And then you want to make sure you have a nice sharp pencil or pen, and you are going to basically outline your picture again. Now, if you are just working from a photograph, you're saved a step rather than making this cartoon. But I'm trying to be as traditional as I can be, so I am doing it this way. Jay, there are a lot of contemporary iconic paintings called retablos in Mexican and Chicano art. Yes, absolutely. Thanks. I find the act of tracing to be really interesting because people always think that it's cheating, but there's so many, everyone's got a different tracing style. I tend to have the impatient tracing style where I don't get very detailed with it. Okay, I want to make sure this is working, actually. It's not working great. I'm just going to go with it. Basically, what this does is it just gives you, I mean, for some of you, it's going to work really amazingly. You have to press down really hard and make sure you have a lot of charcoal. But it's just going to give you a base to work with. My tracing paper is more like vellum, so it's a lot thicker, and it's kind of hard to get a good mark through it. But I'm just going to go with it. Okay. And my little butterfly did not come out at all. So well, mine's not turning out awesomely, but I'm going to just go ahead and draw this in. I hope you all are enjoying this process. It was like trying something new. Okay, so something that I'm going to do that is not in the steps of the icon. See, I really like the way that looks. I am going to take a little of my gel medium, or sorry, acrylic glazing glass, and I am going to use that to just hold this in place, this drawing in place, so it doesn't smudge away on me. So I'm just going to brush it over the lines. So they don't smudge away. I'm really trying to imagine a world with no images. I mean, part of me loves the idea of that. I mean, I guess that would mean no paintings, but think any other elements I add to it will happen after the painting and it will be like a collage thing. So I'm just going to stick with this as my base here. Okay, so referring to the directions, the next step is to put in the gold, paint the gold around the form. Now, this is especially necessary if you are working with gold leaf. You would put that on first. I don't have gold leaf. If you do, this is a really fun time to try it out. I just have this gold paint and it just put some on there and paint it on. And this is actually kind of a thin paint. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint around my form according to the steps. Now, since I have that orange underneath it, it's really coming through. And I'm not sure if I like it. I don't dislike it right now, but we'll just see. There's all different kinds of gold paint you can get. I really like this yellow gold. Now, I'm going to just go ahead and paint the halo gold also. And I might leave a little tiny line to indicate like the edge of the halo. I'm going to go ahead and paint that gold. I don't think I've ever actually used gold leaf. I've tried it, actually. I have tried it in very small pieces. And it's pretty exciting. If you've used it before, let me know. Painting the sides. Said use a small brush, but I'm using a big one just to get the sides of this painted. Now, a lot of the icon paintings, especially the ones of, people still paint icons, and I can share links to some living icon painters. There's a whole like icon painting association. So it's very much still alive as a tradition today. But usually the paint is blended very well. And the early icon paintings were made with the egg tempera paint that I tried to show how to make a few weeks ago. And yeah, the idea was that the icons would be painted with the most natural materials to show like the natural offerings um, of the world, of God's earth. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Now here's where it gets interesting. In traditional icon painting, the flesh is started with a green, an earth green. And this book actually, now I, of course, lost my place, but this book described really well the different colors that were used in icon painting and the reasons for using them. Okay. Red means victory over death, as well as power and royalty. Blue is for mystery, green is for life, and white is for purity. So the first layer of paint in the like flesh or the face or the hands would be a green paint. And their next chapter here is Earth Green, where they talk about that. And in fact, over time, the green would start to come through. Like the lighter colors on top would fade and the green would come through. In our little how to paint an icon tutorial, they use a green as well. Okay, after painting the gold background, the artist paints the halo or nimbus. This is done by scribing the circle with a compass and a pen nib dipped in bright red paint. So we'll do that first. I don't have a compass. I did put some paints out here. And I gave myself, since I don't actually have a good green acrylic, I gave myself white, yellow, bright red. This is a burnt sienna, which is similar to Venetian red, ultramarine blue, and some black. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna do that halo. I'm gonna use a small flat brush because I still really like it. Instead of a little round brush. Let's see what happens if I add just a touch of black to my red. It's too black. Okay. I want to just make it a little darker. That's probably too black also. Blue. All right, I just put a little touch of blue in there. If I had alizarin crimson, I'd probably use that, but I'll go ahead and use this. And I'm going to go and paint the halo. If you are working on a board, it's really helpful because you don't have that weave of the canvas grabbing your paint. You want the paint to be fluid enough that it's coming off of your brush in a nice, easy way. Golly, the time has really flown by. Okay, next I'm going to use green. So basically what it says is to use a dark green for the flesh, dark colors for the clothing, and red for the hair. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go back in there and take black and white for highlights and details. So I'm going to bring my I have this, but I'll go ahead and use this. Okay. See, now this is where I get nervous. So I'm going to mix a green. I'm going to take my ultramarine and a little bit of yellow to mix a green. To me, this is kind of a moss green. It's a little bit closer to that earth green. If I used alizarin, if I used phthalo blue, it would probably be too turquoisey. So I'm going ahead and putting this on there. And I'm still referring to my image. You know, who knows? I always love trying new things because this just might open up a whole new world for painting for me. All right, so I got that in her face and her neck. And that's why I made sure to make sure the lines stay in there so I can see them. Let's see, what did it say? It said dark colors for the clothing. So I'm going to take blue and a little red for this kind of darker purple. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on. She's wearing like this white cape type of a thing, but I'm going to paint that on over the top of this. And I've started painting really fast because I see that we're nearing the end of the hour and I want to make some progress on this. And for now, I'm just going to focus on her and I'll deal with the caterpillar and the butterfly later. See, and this is where it's like, okay, big brush, even though they said to not use a big brush. You could be using a small brush. Okay, for her hair, they were using red. I'm going to use, even though she has dark hair in the picture, I'm just going to go with the icon instructions. I'm going to use some red, and I'll actually use a little of this burnt sienna, and I'm going to mix these together. And I'm going to take the liberty, I'm going to use a little blue to darken it just a touch. And then that's going to be for her hair. Now she is wearing a cap, which I could probably see a little bit better in the picture in the book. But I'll just paint it like I would paint her hair. So in icon paintings also, there was, the paintings were made with transparent layers, similar to what we did way back with the glazing technique. For this necklace she's wearing, I'm going to actually just use some black and I'll work with white on top of it. See, I'm already straying for my thing. Okay. All right, so I just blocked in clothing, face, hair, and you can see why using a board would be better. You can see here, I hope, maybe the weave of the canvas is coming through on her face. As opposed to her hair, you see how that's because that's a little more opaque. So that's why using a smooth surface, I think, is beneficial. I'm going to just go a little bit thicker with that. It's really not making a difference though. Go a little thicker where there's shadows. This is reminding me of the show Nailed It, where they have to bake a cake or something to look like one, and then it always looks messed up. Or there's tons of videos online of people trying to make Bob Ross paintings. That's what I'm reminding myself of right now. Okay, so here's where I'm at. Let's refer to the directions. The next step is to start putting in details, lights and darks of the hair and the face, and to start layering on lighter tones for the face. However, my face is still too wet. I don't want to, well, I'll try it. And you would want to use smaller brushes for this step. I'm skeptical because in my experience, if you paint, sometimes with canvas, if you paint wet onto wet, too thin, it starts pulling off the paint underneath. So what's happening is it's blending with the paint underneath, which is not an icon technique. In icon painting, that bottom layer would be dried. And you wouldn't be blending like this, but I'm going to go ahead and keep doing it. So yeah, it's blending, and typically you wouldn't want that, but here, I'm gonna make it so you can see a little better. I'm just gonna go with it, see what happens. And you can really simplify your face with icon painting. I'm not working from a photograph to begin with, so. Okay, I just did that really fast, but now I'm going to take, I'm going to want to come back in here, but I'm going to go ahead and take some black. And since I'm nervous about using black right out of the tube, I'm going to just mix a touch of red into it because that gives it a nice reflective quality. And I'm going to paint in for my icon a little bit more detail now. Again, whatever you're doing, you might be just like abandoning this process and trying something totally different. It wasn't my intention to try this, to do this way, but you know what? I just thought it would be fun to follow some directions. Sometimes it's kind of nice. So the way I'm doing this is kind of like a stylization. So it's kind of like when you look at a cartoon or something where they use a lot of black lines. Ooh, I really messed up the mouth. I read that some painters would use brushes the size of a single eyelash for their detail. So now with the hair, I could come in and really stylize this as well. So I'm going to put some, these are like little baubles for hair jewels, but I could simplify the curls. I kind of want to see the picture in the book to see how her hair curls. Okay. You could do a self-portrait and make yourself iconic. Well, Lisa, it's funny that you say that because I tried it last night. Okay, I'm about to reveal it. This is my self-portrait from last night, and I did not do it in this in the way those directions um, showed. So I just thought it would be fun to try it out, though. Joanne, thank you. Okay. This mouth over here is not, the mouth isn't right, but okay, I'm going to move on because we're already at an hour and I just want to show you the next step you might take because I'll probably go back into that, of course, actually. But the next would be white. So this is kind of perfect. I didn't plan it, but she's wearing this white kind of lacy shawl thing. So I'm going to take my white paint and I'm going to use my acrylic glazing fluid. And you can just paint right over the black stuff. And I might actually start off with the pearl earring here. I'm actually going to make it a little bit grayer. All right, so hopefully you're getting the idea. So go ahead and consult those directions that I shared. And yeah, keep trying this out for yourself. And definitely share with me whatever it is you make. I'd love to see it. And I would like to post it. If you have a favorite icon painting or something that you really like, feel free to share it in the comments. Next week, I'm starting my intuitive painting intensive. We will be working next Monday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Next Monday, Thursday, and then the Monday following. And it will be just like this, but you need to register to sign up so that I can send you the link for that. And it's pay what you want. And we're just going to really have fun with trying out different techniques. I'll be drawing cards and shouting out instructions as you go. We're kind of going to be leaving it up to chance. See what the cards draw for us. And in the registration form, I've asked you to also contribute some prompts that I could add to the deck. But I'll be sending a little more information out about that. Sorry, it's hard to talk and paint at the same time. So look for more information on that in the week ahead. So here, I'm going to just show you again. This is why I don't like to do this glazing technique on canvas, because you see the weave. Hopefully you can see that. And I don't like that. So that's why this glazing technique works way better on a smooth board, on a panel, or even on paper, because you don't get distracted by the canvas weave. And I would maybe next, like, I think it would be fun to try some collage elements, like maybe cut out butterflies and flowers and put them around. There's a lot of quotes by her in there, so I could maybe write a quote by her around the side of it. So there's a lot of options for you to take this. So anyway, thanks everyone. This was really fun. I really enjoyed doing this. It's a fun experience for me, and I hope you learned something from it. Um, I journal with Tanish, if I'm saying that right. Um, all right, so if you like this, please give a thumbs up, and I'll be in touch about next Monday's intuitive art session. It's going to be really fun. There's no obligation. I just want to make it a little more private um, and exclusive. So that's why I'm asking people to register for it. And you'll always have access to a link that I'll send you in the future. Thanks, Lisa. It is fun. It's fun for me. I like following directions. Yes, and please share whatever it is you make. I would love to see it. Okay, so thanks everyone, and I love you guys. Have a really awesome week, and I'll see you in a little bit. Yay, thanks, Jay. I hope to see what you make. Thank you. All right, bye everyone.